Hey YouTube, Bearded Bristol here in my home office. From my office chair that refuses to sit on the level to have a very level conversation with you about authenticity and new life experiences and how to make your life perfect. So keep watching. Still there? Okay. Yeah, the whole perfection thing, that was maybe just on the outside of truthful. That said, let's catch up for just a brief moment. If you've been following me for a while, you know I haven't been on YouTube for a while. But I am back. I hope to be a regular once again. We shall see. It all depends on time, motivation, alone time, work, you know, the usual stuff. You know, that life thing that drags us all by the short hairs. Anyway, I want to touch on a compliment that I received. And this is, don't misunderstand me, I am not diving into this because of how cool I am. Despite my rugged good looks, my stunning beard, my obviously imperfect eyesight. This is something that I received at my new profession about a month ago. I've been at it for 4 months now, so this would have been about 3 months in. I had been outside clearing snow with a manual shovel. Yeah, you know, those long-handled things with the scoop at the end that require the arm strength of a gorilla with the snows that we have had. Yes, we do have power tools, but they still do not clear an entrance as cleanly and neatly as the good old manual powered shovel, which sucks, by the way. Nevertheless, I came inside from 2 hours of scooping. Excuse me while I cheap scotch, because it is still me. I came inside and Ashley happened to be walking through the hallway, and Ashley is a sweet young lady who stopped me and said, "You know what I like about you?" I said, "No." "You're just you." And I kind of looked myself up and down, and I'm wearing my winter coat over the tops of a flannel shirt and blue and white vertical striped bib overalls and my felt cowboy hat. Okay. She says, "No." She said, "You are probably the most real person I've ever met." At first, I'll be honest, at first I was like, okay, what? But I thanked her for the compliment, and as I walked off, I thought, no, that was her complimenting me on my authenticity, on me actually just being me, and the fact that so many people are not who they say they are, who they pretend to be, who they think they are. I spent the entire day kind of just marinating in that compliment, which at first I didn't even believe was actually a compliment. And that's probably the nicest thing that anybody has accidentally ever said to me. And I want to dive into that for just a little bit, because let me tell you what a jerk I used to be. Junior high and high school, I was a jackass. I changed schools late in elementary, and I had a really hard time adjusting and being accepted by my new classmates. And so as a defense mechanism, much like a porcupine, I curled into a ball and started throwing spears. Somebody made a crack at me, I cracked back twice as hard. I developed a very mean spirit. I'm very angry at those people that picked on me. Oh, woe is me, I know, boo frickin' who. But when I went to college, I thought, I can reinvent myself. I can be anybody I want to be because nobody here knows who I am. And so I did. And I spent 4 years being the most fun, most popular, most cool, most chameleon-like person I've ever met. I could fit into any situation at any time and be close to the hit of the party, which accidentally ends up being an asset, but not by choice. I thought that's who I was supposed to be. I thought I could rule the world with this personality, with this attitude, with this energy. And I did for the better part of 4 years. And I took that into my professional career. Well, kids, as it turns out, once you get into adult land beyond college days, people tend to be a little more perceptive. They dive a little deeper and they find out that this facade that I had been putting on, this game that I had been playing, both academically, now professionally, socially, was not real. It was not authentic. I was called out a few times for antics, I will call them professional antics, where I was not living up to the professional standard that I had set or that the employer had set for me, and I was released from my employment. Of course, it wasn't my fault. How could it possibly be my fault? I proved my level of perfection in college, right? I perfected my level of bullshit to the point where I couldn't possibly be fired, right? Well, clearly not. And I wasn't fired, it was a resignation. Yeah. For anybody who's been through that, you're fired. Cue Donald Trump, you're fired. That was a hard blow for me. So I went self-employed because I thought, I'm going to show them. They don't know what they missed out on. Well, it turns out self-employment's kind of a hard thing. If you haven't tried it, I don't suggest you do unless you have balls of steel. It didn't work for me. It's not saying it won't work for you. I'm just saying this is not an easy road to hoe. Well, that didn't work out, so I got back into the professional world. And I've suffered over my professional life a series of setbacks. And if you watch some videos, especially, if you go right back to my very first one where I talk about taking the chance and taking the final shot, I wasn't in the best place. I still had a positive attitude, but that very first video about taking the last shot has more to do with me trying to bolster my own self-confidence than it did with me just trying to be preachy or, spew some sort of nonsense that I thought I knew that I didn't know. But those setbacks, each one of them has come with a realization of my own faults. And I know, again, rugged, handsome, good looks, sharp wit. What about this guy is imperfect, right? No, bullshit. I am sometimes selfish. Yeah, maybe. I suffer with bouts of occasional arrogance. Not so much now, but my high school and college days, boy, watch out. You pushed me and I could get arrogant with the best of them. Turns out that maybe I have some commitment issues. Maybe. I dated some really, really wonderful women over my years. And turns out most of those breakups were me, not them. The whole, it's not you, it's me. It's me. It's me. Yeah, long-term commitments, yeah, not so much my thing. Not my thing. What else? Oh, I suck at managing money. I've gotten better, not perfect. My My trick to managing money is figure out how to make more money because I'm going to spend it most likely. And it's not like I'm driving a Maserati either. This is just the reality. When you stink at managing money, money just disappears and floats away on candy bars and quick shop sodas and things like that. Now, bear in mind I'm not bankrupt either. I just live within my means, barely. Sometimes my focus isn't entirely there. Sometimes. I have lots of faults. I can be apathetic. Who cares? I can do that. I can play that game with the best of them. I have lots of faults. We all do. I think maybe what sets me apart, what set up this compliment from this young lady, is the fact that through my setbacks, through all of the down times in my life, the loss of my parents, things like that, has given me the opportunity to really reflect on me and my own failings. But not just that. I mean, there's the upside too. I do have strengths. But this for the purposes of this video and this compliment, I'm focusing solely on my failings. And I think by accepting those failings, that I can be a little bit arrogant at times. Maybe I talk too much sometimes. Maybe I drink too much sometimes. I don't buy it, but just saying. That by accepting those things and knowing that's part of me, those things are well ingrained into this person. That's not saying I can't beat any one of those, but until such time, those are part of me. That I have shed those when I deal with people. I understand what those faults are. If somebody calls me out on something, they're probably right. Those are the things when we're younger that you get really upset at. You throw temper tantrums when you're a child. You cuss and scream when you're a teenager or a 20-something. I used to get really angry when people would call me out for stuff, especially if it was a friend or a girlfriend or a family member. And you know what? Turns out they were probably right. At least part of it. We have this little thing in us, this competitive edge where we have to get the biggest, baddest dig in on somebody to prove that we're right. Those digs, those barbs that come at you, probably most of them come from a place of reality. They may be exaggerated for the purposes of winning an argument or proving a point, but there's a pretty good chance if somebody tells you that you're arrogant or you're an asshole, maybe just a little bit. I've been called lots of things. Most of them accurate. In hindsight, most of them accurate. But once I accepted those things, I became less of those things. Once I realized that I could be an arrogant jerk, I think I'm less of an arrogant jerk now. Now you're watching this video saying, no, pretty much still there. I hope that's not the case, but it sure could be. Nevertheless, there's a reality when you're called out for something, and it's in anger. You're a jerk. Well, you know what? Maybe you were. Just for that 30 seconds, you might have been a jerk. Accept it. Own it. Realize that you are not as cool or as perfect as you think you are, as I have had to do many, many times. And you may find that your interactions with other people change. You may find that other people may start to respect you more because you've started to own who you are and your faults. And I'm not talking about you may be overweight, or your hair may be thinning, or you're not as pretty as you think you are, handsome as you think you are. I'm talking about the actual true personality, quote unquote, defects. Maybe someday I'll do a video on how being arrogant is actually a personality enhancer, but that's going to require more scotch. Not opposed to it, I'm just saying. But in the meantime, somebody calls you a dick, find out why and own it. Realize that maybe that is part of who you are, and you may find that your interactions with others start to change because of that. And I'm not suggesting then be a dick. Just saying once you realize you are, you may find out that you don't have to be. Just a thought. So anyway, this is the first of what I hope to be many videos yet to come. I feel like I'm getting back into the saddle after a very awkward transition phase. It's like my second puberty. Okay, not really. That was more metaphoric than anything else. It's been a life-changing 3 or 4 months for me. And I should say 6 months, because that's when I started looking in earnest for a new profession. My days of being a full-time graphic artist are now gone. I gave up the ghost on the idea that I paid for this degree, I better use it. I've paid for my degree with my degree. It's time to kick that can down the road and do something else. I still do some graphic arts on the side. Codger's hat, which I just dearly love. Sorry, that's me being arrogant. If you're interested in the hat, you can find it at Bearded Bristol on Etsy. But that said, I do have a whole series of videos that I want to dive into, and hopefully now feel like I'm back in that Zen place, and maybe I'll have some time now that it's not going to snow every flipping weekend. I mentioned that I push a manual shovel some of the time. Yeah, every flippin' weekend. 6 of them in a row. That's spectacular. So, enough about me, more about you. Okay, enough about you, more about me. Now, this is Bearded Bristol. I'm about to call it quits on a Saturday night. I've got half a glass of scotch and a video to process. And we will talk to you again soon. But until such time, think about your faults. Think about whether or not you actually own those. And think about, once you do own those, how that can actually change your life. It's added a level of humility to my life that I never expected, because I was already perfect. At least I thought I was. Turns out my nose is too big, my ears stick out, my beard's a little thin once you get under here. I won't even show you my pecs because there aren't any, honestly, so. Have a great night. We'll talk to you again soon.